Hey y'all, welcome to Nourish with Shelby, where we talk about real skills, real food, and real change, and how you can make changes in your own life. In this week's episode, we're going to be chatting about how you are your family's nutritionist and how the little choices you make will help remove you from the matrix. I know all that sounds kind of odd and weird, but I want to empower so many folks to just, number one, choose real food, but to step outside of the norm that is suppressing them. So, if you are buying all the food for your family, if you are making the meals, doing the meal planning, making the snacks, all the things, you are your family's nutritionist. Typically that falls on us women, and it's a wonderful cause. It's been like that for hundreds, thousands of years. Women have primarily been the family nutritionist, and it's a high calling. It's important. It wasn't until the last 60 years did we decide it wasn't that important. Microwave meals should replace nourishing meals because it's quick and easier. But we have to decide what is more important, convenience or nourishment. Convenience can still coincide with nourishment if you make the appropriate decisions and plan ahead. We do live in modern times where we have refrigerators, we have microwaves, we have meal prepping containers, we have canners, we have all these things that make life easier. Use them to our advantage, but we don't have to cut corners around nourishment when using these advantages. So, number one, how to become your family's nutritionist is look at what you're feeding your family, look at, dietary restriction, what is best for your family, and plan accordingly. Learn to incorporate these ingredients that will benefit your family. Number two, start shopping seasonally. So even if that's going to the grocery store or your farmer's market, but look at what you're feeding your family and then what is actually in season. Typically what's in season is going to be more cost effective, especially when you're at that grocery store. So look at that and learn how to cook with those ingredients. It wasn't, until the last 60, 70 years, maybe not even that long, did grocery stores come about and make it to where you could buy an avocado when you live in Indiana or wherever, when you can't possibly grow avocados. Those things are really a luxury and we don't realize that. Number three, keep a working kitchen, and a lot of people don't realize what that even means, but if you keep a working kitchen, that's going to make your job as your family's nutritionist so much easier. Just by simply keeping your kitchen pantry stocked with plenty of ingredients that you can use, keeping a long-term pantry, your rice, your beans, your flours, and all the, baking essentials, cooking essentials. Because what happens is if you have a working kitchen and if you have meals that you, number one, know how to make, you can go into that kitchen and make easy meals that your family will eat and you enjoy making. And that cuts the possibility of eating out. It also cuts down the possibility of eating food that is not so nourishing, because that's the main objective, is feeding ourselves and families nourishing food. Because in a time like this, at least 90% of Americans are not nourishing themselves. I think the statistic is actually, I think it's over 70% of the American diet is ultra processed foods. And when you think of ultra processed foods, your Cheetos, your microwavable meals, all these things, and they have no nutrients. The longer the shelf life, the less nutrients something really has. And that goes for home canned goods. I mean, it does lose nutrients when you pressure can something or whatever. Fresh is always best, and you can't always get fresh. But when it comes to the ultra processed, it's stripping food of every nutrient that it could possibly have. Longer shelf life means more profits for said company, and that's something to also remember when you're purchasing food for your family. When you are buying, the cheaper cost, and I get it. Hey, when we went to One Income, I was buying the absolute cheapest food in no regard to nutrition. Like I was my family nutritionist, but I didn't really care per se. I just knew we needed to eat, so let's get the cheapest food we possibly can, and I had no regard to that. And then when I started learning about ingredients and stuff, I remember coming across the Food Babe and seeing all of her information on that and feeling totally defeated, overwhelmed with that information, because I thought, well, I can't afford $8 loaf of bread, I can't afford the organic stuff. But little did I realize I could make all of that homemade. I could source even, your conventional ground beef. Yeah, it's not organic or it's not local, whatever. It's still going to be better than that microwavable meal. So keep that in mind when you're doing these things. You might not be able to afford all the local, all the organic, which the organic stamp can be a scam 99% of the time, especially in the grocery stores. That's a whole other topic for another day. Go down that rabbit hole and tell me what you think about that. But choosing better ingredients, even if they are conventional, is always going to be better than the bag of cereal or whatever. And it's not about perfection. It's just about doing little choices every day that add up to better nutrition for your family. And that should be your goal, my goal, everybody's goal. And while you're doing this, and this leads me to the second point of this podcast, is I'm sure we've heard like exiting the matrix and that kind of stuff, but what that truly means is breaking up with societal standards that society sets for us. The typical American ideal is the 2-income home. You go to college, you go into debt, you have a nice home, you go on vacations, you have a nice car, blah, blah, blah. We have no regard to God's creation and how things are created and how we are supposed to be involved in that creation. Instead, we're involved in the government's creation. We are involved in the corporation's profits instead of God's creation. We have to remove ourselves as far as we can from that process, as much as we can, when we can. I get it. We live in the world. We all have to have money. We got to pay our taxes. We got to do these things to be good citizens. I think is it Romans or Colossians? Pay Caesar what's due. We still have to pay Caesar what's due, no matter how far removed we come from the matrix. No matter if we are living off grid, you still got to pay your land taxes. You still got to do these things. But every day you get the choice to remove yourself further and further from the psyop, from the decisions you're making, from what you're buying, who you're purchasing for, what community you're building or not building, what you're watching. It's really easy to just come home and watch Netflix and just check out and not think about the decisions you're making every day and how that actually affects tomorrow and much later down the line. I really started thinking about this when I had more children. The world that I'm building for them, I'm building it. It's not somebody else, it's me. And I think that's the biggest thing that you have to realize is the decisions you make are what either build or don't build a better tomorrow. So think about that. Realize to get a better food system, to get better quality ingredients, to build a better community, you have to be involved with that and not just check out and think that it's up to somebody else. It's not up to the officials, it's not up to corporations, whoever. It's not up to this influencer, it's up to you and me and all of us coming together as humans and realizing that we all have a goal to play or a purpose in this grand scheme of things. We can either be involved in God's creation and stewarding it well, or we can be complacent mind slaves. So just some thoughts. And if you're needing help with the real food movement and feeling motivated, you need to grab your ticket for Revive the Table. It's virtually, which is really awesome. So you can watch it from the comfort of your own home. And if you can't watch it on the actual date it's scheduled to air, you get the full recording, and plus you get over $100 worth of free cookbooks and guides and even coupon codes. And again, that's Revive the Table. You can get you a cute little t-shirt too. It's something that I've put together because obviously I talk about it a lot on my podcast and my social media and Substack and all the things, but the real food movement, it's not simply about what we're eating. I mean, it is, but it goes much deeper, and it's about building a better tomorrow. And you're going to learn a lot of wonderful skills. You're going to feel encouraged and empowered. And grab your ticket. There's less than 10 days to grab it. You can use my code Shelby25 to get 10% off at checkout. All this will be in the show notes, so don't worry. But I really think you'll be encouraged. I was just reading Joe Salatin. He is also in the conference. Really wonderful man. I was reading his book, Everything I Want to Do is Illegal, and highly encourage you to add that to your reading list because it's a really eye-opening book. Number one, about his story and how, all the things that he had to go about legally and the process of real food and how it's really all just a money racket and how really the corporations, the systems that be, are simply trying to make it to where we can't have good local, healthy food. And that's what it boils down to. But I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you got some practical tips on how you can become your family's nutritionist. And I'll add this to it too. Make sure you are getting in the kitchen more, and bring your family alongside you. Have them in the kitchen with you. Have them learning, especially your children, because hey, they're going to slow you down, and you're going to probably get irritated, and there's going to be lots of messes. But if you don't bring your kids involved, they're just again going to fall into the system. They're going to become complacent. They're going to think that food is easy and cheap, and hey, mom always made homemade food, and I don't know how, so when I move out, I'm just gonna, get Netflix or get McDonald's or whatever. You make decisions to build a better tomorrow. Nobody else can do it for us. We have to choose to. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for listening, and make sure you grab your ticket to Revive the Table before it's gone.